Fast Forward Productions. The women are speaking.
Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of The Unfiltered Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Ashley Pollard. And today we have an incredible guest on the podcast. Natasha Zoryk is someone who I am consistently told you need to follow, you need to collaborate with her, you need to have her on the podcast, she needs to come inside the Doers, whatever it is, because apparently we are very similar. Apparently we say a lot of the same things about our ethos about business and how we've grown our businesses. So I thought I could do one of two things. I could reach out to her and say, hey, we need to be friends, or we could become friends on the podcast. So I reached out to her in February or March, got her booked in. We finally recorded. This will actually go live a month after we've recorded. So it's been almost all year that we've had this podcast in action, and I'm so happy with how it turned out. She's so incredibly generous with her information. Her Instagram, her podcast is such a powerful space for transformation and for growth as an entrepreneur and as a woman. And I'm really excited for you guys to tune in to learn more about her, to fall in love with her because she's such a gem. And I hope you enjoy the episode. You guys, Natasha and I have never met. Can you believe it? First time. And I feel like I always hear your name come up after following you. I've loved following you. I think you do such a great job in your business. It's very clear that you are an ethical business owner. We share a lot of the same ideologies. You know, I hear you talk a lot about like, this is not do things my way. This is not about like hire a coach just to have a coach. It's very much like invest in experts to grow your business. And I really love that you come from that point of view because it's very refreshing. So first of all, I just want to say that I very much admire the way that you show up and really love following you for that reason.
Thank you. That's so precious. Oh, my heart. Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of hills I will die on, and I'm sure we're going to dive into that in this episode. So I appreciate it. And same goes to you. I love that. When you connect with people who have the same values, I tell it to my clients. I'm like, y'all, you better be sharing them values, the missions, because people want more. Like people are snoozing. They say next, thank you. People want to stand behind not just a service, but like a true mission and values. And the only way that's going to happen is if you share it boldly, loud and proud.
Yeah, there you go. You know, I always tell people like
live in proof.
I think that at the beginning of this like digital entrepreneurial boom, the excitement was the like girl on the beach working on her laptop 3 hours a day lifestyle, which like got people really excited because they were like, oh my gosh, I want to work 3 hours a week and be in Mexico and all of these things. But I think it's really shifted away from that. People want to see people working, you know, we want to be investing in people that we see hustling and are ambitious and are working women. And that's not to say that we shouldn't try to make sure that we're like living a work-life balance, a really strong work-life balance. But I do think that there's something to be said about people seeing you work and seeing you like grow your business. So I love seeing that. But I want to talk today about building passive income revenue, specifically in a consulting or a coaching business. And I want to hear a little bit more about like what that piece, like why you're so passionate about that piece of business and building passive revenue. I hear that as well, like in my business. So I'm curious, what is it that really makes you excited about that particular topic?
So passive income, why am I so passionate about it? Well, it's kind of in my roots. When I started out as a website designer, things quickly changed. And I stepped into, within 3 months, I became a designer and digital marketer. And it was an agency style. And I loved it then. It was so awesome. And from the jump, I focused on passive income. And I actually, in 2019, had a course. It was a huge success. I had an ebook. That was all the rave then. I had the Instagram kit that really like built the authority. I had a whole program called Passive Profits because I saw the value of funnels, sales psychology, strategic. You can be present while not present. You know, you can genuinely live your life and have that sustainable approach. And it's just so powerful to have because I don't have to be in it makes my eyeball twitch when my students tell me that someone told them, or it's the industry, that you have to pay your dues by doing the one-on-one rat race. And I literally could not agree less because I'm living proof. So many of my clients, and it's like, who's feeding that narrative? Is it a coach that's trying to get you in their one-on-one? Because it comes down to a shitty sales tactic. But passive income, allows you to flourish in things outside of your business. It allows you to build a family. It allows you to remember who you are outside of your identity of I am a founder and a businesswoman, because it provides sustainable income, and that is beautiful. And money is sexy. Money is empowering. And so when that you open that door of potential for constant revenue, and then you can also provide way more quality to your people for the done for you, for the more hands-on consulting style, because you're not stressed and like filling your cup up with a huge roster of clients. So that's my
and I
spiel
think
of
that
why
what you're
I'm so
hinting
passionate.
at is something that kind of like drives me crazy in the online space and that I try to combat often, which is lifestyle preference has to be at the forefront of your business decisions. Because I have a different lifestyle preference than others. I don't have kids. I don't know if I will. I'm single. I'm happy being single. I love to hustle. Like I move fast and I move really hard. So for me, I want to have a very deep, intimate connection with clients that I'm booked on expensive retainers to serve on a really high capacity. But I also really love my membership who they're present, listening in, which is like a new thing that we're doing. I like to always be consistently present there with them and, answering questions and supporting in different ways. So for me, the way that I structured the business is kind of based on like what I'm really feeling like giving in the moment. And right now, the past 6 months, I've really been craving this like depth with clients, which is why we've been doing so much with Dial Zero Marketing and our clients there. And there's times that I'm really craving playfulness of the doers. And so I'll dive more deeply there. And I think what your point is, not to speak for you, so I'm hoping that I'm getting this correctly, is that like passive revenue can be your focus, especially if it's going to feed your lifestyle in that way. If you do have a family, if you do have maybe like constraints that don't allow you to show up to convert high one-on-one containers and things like that. So thinking of and considering your lifestyle preferences is definitely something to, be considering in growing the business. Is that something that you're saying?
Precisely. That's exactly it. And it's a moment as well of realizing that passive income can be such an awesome paid lead gen and paid funnel into said higher ticket offers. That's the point for client retention in a lot of ways. That's the point of also buyer psychology, building expressive buyers. People got to start somewhere, right? And so, yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes people can feel almost ashamed. Shame is rooted in sales and money in so many aspects, but it's like, oh, is it bad to say I want more money? Is it bad to say I want easy money? Girl, that's good. That's going to be the thing that really drives and snowball affects a lot of success.
It really is personal development as much as business development, is this idea that like something I truly believe in is that to fix anything in your business, fix it in your personal life, because then you change as a person and it trickles into your business. So I'm curious, you have such an expansive space, Natasha. You have really incredible programs that you can see are converting massive change for people, really strong reviews, really impeccable results that you find with your clients, as well as building an app, which I want to talk about here in a second. But like, you have such an expansive space. And I'm wondering what kind of personal life setup do you have that you feel supports you in growing and running a business at this size and doing the kinds of things that you're doing in your life?
Yeah, I love that question. Oh my gosh. So I can relate as well, kind of a vulnerable moment too of back to COVID era in 2020. So where it got robbed from me, this lifestyle. So how it's supportive right now is one, the people of my circle. I am so grateful. I am a huge quality over quantity, but I've had the same best friends since I was 2 years old. Grade 2, Brooke and Sarah and Kamisha, those girlies. And then I have like, I call her my soulmate, my best friend, Julia, who's also an entrepreneur, a wedding photographer, but it's my group, my support system, my boyfriend, Brandon. He's been rocking with me since 2017. He's the reason I'm here in a lot of ways, because he gave me the idea to start my business. He's like an entrepreneur, so I have such beautiful people around me, and I've seen it with my clients. I've seen it with my friends. We've all seen it just like in the internet, the world, where your people can have such a strong impact. And so I'm very, very blessed. That's huge. Another big one too is fitness, health and fitness. That vulnerable moment was when that like completely switched for me in 2020. And I think so many people can resonate of like, you either lost a part of yourself or you got to a point in your health that you're like, wait, whoa, because say your routine got disrupted. That is a forefront and such a priority, like the health, the wellness. You see that directly impact your creativity, the way you show up for your people, right? Your clients. And third point is honestly my space. So I moved November 2022 and it was a big jump, okay, in rent and finances, like a big one. But I said, I know this is my multi seven-figure space because how big it is. And I really poured a lot of love into my office. So my environmental space here and physically where I operate every day, from like how, the interior style that I have everywhere I look, I love. And that has done so much for my lifestyle and then therefore, my business.
So I kind of like jumped all over the place. I lived in New York for 11 years, and left after COVID. I was working in the fashion industry and quit and started this business, right? And so I moved back to St. Louis where I am now and where I'm from. And then last year I just like got antsy. So I was bouncing all over the place. I was living in LA. I was living back in New York. I was all over the place and loving it. And I felt like not having a home made me feel so out of touch with my environment that I wasn't able to show up properly for my people client-wise. And now I have this gorgeous home and I'm renovating and I'm adding to it and, doing all of these really fun things to the space. And it totally changes the way that you show up, because it almost feels, this is so funny, but and like kind of weird, but it almost feels like I want to do a better job because my space is so gorgeous. You know what I mean? Like I have to like step up for the room,
Yes, absolutely. And studies show that your environment. So I even have a few clients. One was, I think it was Cesadia, and then quite a few others and they were going into this, this new space. But I've had multiple clients of mine who are like, oh my gosh, Tasha, like I'm moving. Should I do it? This one has an office. There's a few that I've worked through and I'm like, do it. I don't care if it's a bigger, Evelyn, she was one as well too. And I'm like, do it, go into the space, invest. And then afterwards, a few months later, they're like, it was the best decision. It was so frightening. Cause even me, I needed to have that like pep talk of it's worth it. It's worth it. And you're living proof as well. It really is. Do not sleep on your environment, especially your office space.
So with that, we have this like space, we have the people in our lives, we have our support systems, all of these really great things. But I kind of want to also circle back. You said that you started as a website design agency, it was, right? And, now you are coaching, consulting, like helping people really grow and build their businesses through tangible business strategies, not follow my method, which is fantastic and something I fully support. Part of that being passive income. So we have so many different people in the Doers, so many people listening, all different industries. We have service providers, photographers, website designers, social media agencies, but we also have product-based businesses. We have consultants, we have CMOs, like we have a pretty diverse group of listeners. So my question for you would be, what are some things to consider if somebody isn't really diving into the passive space? And I'll ask two questions in one and we can start with the first one. But the two questions would be like, how does someone know that they're ready? How do they get ready? And also, how do they take it off? What do those two phases kind of look like?
So first thing is you could even ask, because I'm all about simplicity, you could ask yourself, how could I piggyback off, say, if I am done for you? Is there something in my work that takes a lot of time I don't really love doing? For example, I know tons of my clients or consultants or coaches or social media managers, they don't love the whole Instagram audit aspect. I was like, you don't need to do that. So if you take the sit and you look at it and say, one, what do I not love? Two, how can I simplify this and just allow them to, go through this process themselves and give them the tools and resources? So boom, you have a passive offer. Say you make that complimentary or you make a tripwire out of it, or that becomes a passive offer that you send in the DMs, or it could be in your systems linked to a freebie. But that's kind of, you can take and look at the more mundane, simplistic, basic things that don't require your absolute craft and mastery. And you absolutely can turn into a template paired with a Loom or a mini course. And again, it's kind of one that would take a lot of time, or again, something you do not enjoy, you can easily turn that into passive.
Let's say someone does offer something. Maybe it's, to your point, an audit, which is a great one. Another thing I always recommend people is take a look at your done for you and what's the thing you're always doing. Can you templatize it and sell that thing, right? So let's say somebody has something like that, a really strong webinar, a masterclass, a swipe file, copy and paste emails. What would be your advice if they were like, it's selling-ish, but I want it to be a focus?
Yeah. So from the organic marketing front, there's a few avenues. So I see a lot of people kind of treading against the current here where they're really trying to play the visibility game, say on Instagram. You have to look at your omnipresent channels for what they are. So if you're trying to be visible, Pinterest and TikTok. If you're trying to really nurture and convert and grow your email list, Instagram. You have to play the smart role and put your marketing cap on and ask yourself, how can I best leverage these modern social tools to really be in my favor? So if we're taking an organic standpoint, say you have an ebook, okay? What you could do is you could, one, create some awesome reels or good longer shelf life content, grid posts, have a highlight, a great call to action in your Instagram bio, and you could nurture your people there, get them into a funnel, but then and have clear call to actions to drive them there. For visibility, you don't want to just rely on Instagram. Go to Pinterest. Use Tailwind, go to TikTok to drive people there. But you have to, I always say this, you have to have multiple access points with clear direction. And I learned this in my government job when I managed thousands of promotional campaigns for the government of Canada, less clicks. So I always say this, and I notice this when I go through and I audit, you're making it so hard for people to purchase, or it's confusion is the number one conversion killer. So how can you just simplify? You probably are doing too much. You probably are collecting digital dust on that passive offer because you launched it. You did your live launch, and then you're not doing any front-facing marketing or back-end marketing to drive it. So I would ask yourself, right off the bat is, am I creating content to drive people to a sustainable funnel or a sustainable system that will nurture them? Because that can be a beast in itself, but that's just having from a wider perspective, a really, really intentional marketing plan.
Yeah, that's great. I love the
So that's a big
omni-channel
one.
perspective. You're so right. Because I think that in a world where it's how to beat the Instagram game, sometimes the way to beat the Instagram game is to get off of it and bring people in when there's other higher converting platforms, Yeah.
And I can't stress it enough. Like, take it from me. I always say, learn from my horror story of, not being disabled once on Instagram, but twice. Everything was taken away like that. My whole business, everything. It was the worst, but the best thing that ever could have happened to me, because that led into me going into omnipresent. That led me into burnout, though, because I tried to do all the things. That led me into the social experiment, which led me here today, which is a whole thing. But I always tell my clients, you have to be, and people are also craving this. My multi-million-dollar clients, they do not look for Instagram-based coaches or Instagram-based businesses. People want quality and depth and a true marketing expert.
Well, and I would hope so.
Channel.
I think that in any investment, you really want to hire someone who's doing more than you are at your current stage, so that you are, in essence, learning from their hiccups, their mistakes. You're following a trailblazer who's saying, don't go down that path. I did, and I fell on my face. Or here's some things to consider if you're looking at this path or this path. YouTube isn't for everyone. Podcasts aren't for everyone. TikTok isn't for everyone, but you don't have to do all of them. Pick and choose what's right for you. So I think it's smart to think about being a thought leader in your space and diversifying your omnipresent strategy, because you want to make sure that you're kind of one step ahead and learning and being that person that can kind of share how you're growing and how you're scaling,
Yeah, you don't want to do the whole rented digital space, knack. So I call it my big three. So after the social experiment,
what's the social experiment? Tell me this.
The Facebook group. I basically did everything ass backwards to what all marketing gurus say. And they always say content, content, content. What I did was, for a whole year, I pulled back on everything, like absolutely everything. I stopped mass content creation. I stopped all channels. And I said, I'm going to scale to $1 million by pulling back. And I focus on quality over quantity, buyer psychology, leadership marketing. And I prioritized expressive buyers. And so Didn't want any visibility, didn't want any PR. I built such a strong community and I loved on them. I practiced my own time-tested marketing methods, and I scaled so close to $1 million with $200 launches, with like the least amount of marketing touch points and materials. And that was based off a strong personal brand and buyer psychology.
That's great.
Yeah. And like it really defined so much for the space. And I bring these principles and refreshing takes into my market. I'll drop the page there. So now coming back, I had to fuse the world of being the omnipresent queen and being all the things, then complete 180, and I needed to find a happy medium. So I asked myself, and I bring this principle to my clients, just because your coach does it, just because the space says you have to do it, doesn't mean you have to do it. I like to call it your entrepreneurial IQ, where you're savvy, you think, and you do a gut check, you question me, you question the space. Don't blindly follow things because everyone else is doing it.
Who also says this all the time, guys? Who says this all the time? I'm always like, question me. Like, tell me to fuck off, you know? Like, tell anybody to. Like, I'm just because it worked for me, I'm going to be loud about it. But also, you have to find your own way, you know? You have to like say, I don't think that fits with my lifestyle preferences, to what I brought up earlier, to my goals and focuses, to anything that hinders me or the resources I have accessible to me. So I can be wrong. Allow me to be wrong too. Like, you can find your own way and tell me I'm not doing that, you know, like that's perfectly fine.
Absolutely. And I think it's creating that safe dialogue and space, because unfortunately, like I've heard the horror stories from my clients of their voice saying being diminished, or I always say, leave the ego at the door. I'm going to meet you where you're at, where it's collaborative. Okay. Do not put me on a pedestal, for the love of God. I can't stand that. But my 3 main channels, and when I came back, I call it the big 3. So Instagram, emails, and my podcast. And if I expand and, you know, I'm a little TikTok girly, I'm going to do it eventually. I keep being a hypocrite and not doing it. I tell my clients to do it. Not me. That's my big 3. I really focus on those for my channels, and I love it. And I do it consistently.
Those are my big 3. So, you know, we share that as well. We're diving into YouTube. Well, by the time this is out, you know, our YouTube will be up. And I played a little bit on TikTok, but outside of that, like, you can't be good at everything. And I don't think that reach is... I always tell people in marketing, there's puddles and there's wells, and you can do the puddle where you like kind of sprinkle yourself thin among all these other ones. But where true relationships are built are that well, you know, singular or a couple channels that you're deep on. That's truly where you're going to see high conversion outside of like, I posted a tweet and I also did a short form on YouTube and Pinterest and TikTok and Reels and Facebook. And it's like, you're not talking to anybody there. You're not actually being social. You're doing the media piece, but not the social piece. So I think that's really important to kind of remember, is I think everyone should be challenged to have a big 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And just remember, again, quality over quantity. I can't stress it enough. And in buyer psychology, I always say you got to focus on the 4, but the best buyer ever is expressive. That's your loyal ride or die. Their grandmama knows about you. Their dog knows about you. Everyone knows about you. Okay. You're launching a damn paperclip and they're like, girl, credit, take it. And what that creates is a beautiful synergy in your community, crazy engagement. And the way that's going to occur, again, is when you give people your time, love, and attention, and you keep pouring into them. And the only way you can do that is through focusing a little bit more narrow, right? I think of YouTube stars, right? Back in like 2016 to 2019, when it was so big, they just posted and loved on their people.
It's
and that's
food.
why they built,
you know,
huge
social
brands,
media is
you know?
junk food. You know, it's consistency, but depth of the relationship and vulnerability, I think, is also super important. And, you know, it reminds me, you said earlier that like it rubs you the wrong way when people are like listening so diehard to these coaches. And it kind of brought up a question I have for you, which is, what are some other like spicy things you see in the space that you're kind of like, it drives you nuts, it grinds your gears, you're not into it? Like, what is the thing that you're like, mother of God, if I see this one more time, I'm going to rip my hair out? Like, what is it?
Yeah. Okay. So one, if people are listening and they are in my world, I feel like they're going to know this one. But this is where I'm like, I swear to God, I'm going to roll around in my grave if this is still a thing. Okay. Coaches or entrepreneurs that say aesthetics and visuals do not matter. That is probably the worst advice that people can ever give. It makes my eyeball twitch because I'm a little biased, because yes, I was a designer. However, if we take away that aspect, we look at it from a soundproof marketing and a true strategist and really understanding sales psychology, we're going to understand the mere exposure effect. We're going to understand the 7-second rule. We're going to understand the feel good factor. What about color psychology? We love to say we don't judge a book by its cover. We are
Whether you're aware or not.
judgmental. Psychology and science. Yeah, it's all subconscious. No, it's all subconscious. People say we're the best. We don't judge. We're not opinionated, girl. Your subconscious mind is categorizing everything. And it's just, we are judgmental, and it doesn't have to be in a negative light. But anyways, it is so important. The stats, I think it's about 98% of people are not only more likely to stay on a website, but to purchase if they have a liking towards the design. It is under marketing. These coaches, business coaches, love to preach about copy, sales, the flashy, sexy numbers. But what's going to get you that is the initial
I also think there's like a
design.
spectrum there. I think some people hear everything has to be aesthetic and designed, and they think, but I'm not a designer, so now I have to hire a designer and I have to spend all this money. And it's so much simpler than that. Buy some templates, go to Creative Market, spend $30. And it's really more, in my eyes, one of the easiest ways to do it is take 20 stock photos, use those always as your backgrounds, pick one font and one color on Instagram, and always type in that on stories so that it, has some level of consistency, and use a color suite and a font suite. Like, make it so simple if you have to DIY it, but it doesn't have to be so complicated that you're doing a branded photo shoot once per month and you have to pay expensive money for branding if you're just starting out or you're getting your first 10,000 or something like that. Like, there are some key elements that I think are important, but do you agree with that?
Yeah. And I also always like to say is don't get caught up in everything has to be perfectionism, curated. It doesn't have to be that. You just have to you can't have some crazy janky, say blurred images or using all these different fonts. So when I say it has to be aesthetic, I don't mean it has to be given Vogue, Chanel, all these things. No. I love a messy inspired action. However, if personally, it's just as important as your sales copy, as your Instagram strategy. And just put a little bit more love and intention. And if you hear that piece of advice, question it just as you would anything else. So that's one big one, but I totally agree with all your points.
I'm so grateful that we did this and we finally met. I can't tell you how many people are like, you have to be friends with Natasha. You guys are the same person. And I'm like, okay, twist my arm. If I'm going to be friends with her, she might as well come on the podcast.
Yeah. Oh my God. You got to tell me. I think you briefly listed off who, but I got to know because I got to send them a message and be like, you are so sweet. I got to make sure I'm connecting with them. But I'm so happy too. And that's so sweet. That goes to show strong brand identity. If people can, connect the dots.
Yeah. You guys are saying the same thing over and over again. Like if I heard it from you and I heard it from you, then I trust you both. It's great. Let's do some rapid fire questions. Are you ready? Short and sweet, right off the tip of the tongue. First one is, what would you title this chapter of your life?
I'm in my tech baddie era. Legally, I can't say too much, so it won't be too in-depth there. However, I will drop the waitlist so you guys can get the information. I actually do have an email dropping today after this where I pull back and show the true journey of building a tech business and the first ever type of tech software. But I'm building an app for you. It's going to be perfect for you, for everyone listening. It's for the service pro, the coach, consultant.
Congratulations. Such an exciting step forward. So I'll cheer you on. What's a mistake you've made recently and what did it teach you?
This is a big one too. My clients deal with it often. So one of my team members, I didn't give them enough guidance and that created, the typos, the errors, the mishap, which then you kind of have to go backwards and fix it. So I went and I did a whole SOP hire in terms of templates and revisions. I did a full audit on my leadership role and how I had a hand in that. And I took full responsibility. And it just completely made me have a reflective moment of like, oof, how can I really the way we would our client experience, how can I make this such a beautiful experience and nourishing for my team? And now moving forward, we have a whole SOP book. Well, we added on top of ours, but she's sexy. She's, she's good, our SOPs. And it
love that.
Felt really, really good to do that.
And that's such a testament to mistakes is that a lot of times it does kind of help you move forward. So don't avoid them. They happen and it's great. What do you wish more people knew? This could be about you. This could be about what you've learned. This could be general about life. What do you wish more people knew?
The more you tap into your own unique brilliance and truly your best assets and not as much your coaches, the more you're going to shine and shine really bright and truly sustainably scale, because it's not going to burn out or a business that you look around and you say, what the hell have I just built? Just really intuitively tapping in and again, doing those gut checks of like, is this really what I want to do? Does this feel good? How can I workshop and hybrid it to have my own twist, to have my own flair? That's one big one, is coming to the self rather than looking for validation everywhere else.
If you could have known anything you know now when you first started your business, what do you wish that was?
To make laughter the backbone in your business at all times. For me, the moment I put away, I have to be X, Y, and Z because I'm a businesswoman. And the second I started cackling with my clients, having more of a personal connection, the more they succeeded and the more their marketing was just so on fire.
Yeah. Is there anything else you would like to share with us, Natasha?
No, I think we're good. We covered a lot. I feel great. I'm ready for some questions if people are.
Yeah. Guys, why don't you drop some questions in the chat? In the meantime, while you guys are leaving some questions, feel free to ask anything. Natasha, she's expensive for her time. So I would take advantage and, utilize this chance to ask away. But while we're getting some questions, where can we connect with you? Where can we find you? Where can we learn more about you? That kind of thing.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Natasha.Zoryk if you want to be on the close friends list. Big shenanigans there. Big laughs. It's such a hoot there. So if you just DM me and you want to be added, I will there. But Instagram, podcast as well, Tash Talks. And then my email list, if you want to join that, we do weekly emails where we do not pitch. It's not all selling. We really do storytelling, vulnerable shares. I give you tons of resources, surprises. You can either join the list on my site, or I have a free resource hub called the CEO Atelier. You will be joined there. So that's kind of where you can stay in my world, and the app waitlist.
Beautiful. I'm so excited for you. Guys, anything that you would love advice on, insight on, tips on getting into Pinterest for a product?
So tips on getting into Pinterest for a product. So basically for that one, Pinterest can definitely be a easy autopilot type of generator for you for visibility and to get into your funnels. But tips for getting into Pinterest for a product.
Something we do with some of our product-based businesses, since we go pretty deep on Pinterest, just for you, Stephanie, and I don't mean to cut you off, Natasha, is almost use it as your first social media platform, like your biggest one. If you follow anybody like Set Active, their Pinterest is a case study. I mean, they post like 20 a day of like what they're doing, brand images, activewear products, et cetera, all linking to the site. And they've become one of the most followed people on Pinterest for that reason. So use it where it's like just bite-sized little nuggets and post consistently. It's going to maybe get buried. It's going to maybe take off. So that's what I would say too. Not to cut you off again, Natasha, but.
No. Pinterest isn't my main hub as much. So that one I don't have a wealth of knowledge on, but I would say use it on more of a volume game, and then backlinks. Absolutely. So that one is, you really want to make sure you're being strategic for that sustainability of, again, driving them to the list or driving them to the site. So yeah, you want to make sure your ducks are in order for that, and having either a team or like some type of workflow so you can produce in a way that's not going to burn you out for that.
Yeah. We have a question here. If you're more of a strategy business over execution deliverable business, any guidance on where to get started for creating a passive product?
So strategy business, can you give me, so for context, do you mean?
She may mean like coaching consulting, I believe.
Well, you could definitely, it really depends on, say you have like three main things when you are going over strategies, or you have like a specific framework. You could give a little bit of that, say in a passive course, or you could frame that into any type of passive offer, right? Where it takes you out of it and you just walk through your processes that you go through internally. You could also help people build their systems that you leverage to scale your business and be successful. Is there things that you've done, more consulting? It kind of is like a mi casa su casa vibe. Do you have templates, tools, time savers? If you were to look at your day one entrepreneur self and say, wow, I wish I knew that, turn that into something passive. It could be affiliate marketing as well. Turn that into a passive offer. But that's what I would say, is look at what's working for you. As consulting, that can be very hands-on, and people love time savers. Passive is great when it helps people save time. What you have gained as a knowledge and like a time saver, turn that into a resource.
Beautiful. Natasha, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for being such an incredible, powerful leader in this space. I know everybody here should be following you at Natasha.Zoryk, correct?
Yes.
And I hope everybody enjoys, learns more from you. I know that I have so much respect for you, and I'm glad that we're finally connected after all this time.
I know. Thank you so much.
We had this on the
Ashley.
book since like February, guys, like February, March.
Yes, literally. I know. And thank you so much for everyone tuning in too. This was so cool. I'm going to look into Riverside for myself.
Yeah, we love it. 10 out of 10 recommend. If anybody's listening, we record on Riverside and it's amazing. Great. We will catch you next time. I'm going to go ahead and close out, but we will talk to you soon.